In God. Welcome, everybody. If you're just joining after, we're going to have a great class. I'm going to start doing this. It is going to be a class that I'm going to try to give every day, God willing, on how to trust in the one above. We live in such a crazy world today. We live in a world of misinformation. We live in a world of turn on the news. It's a crazy world. Today, we need more than ever this ability to trust in the one above, to give us tranquility, to let us live a nice life. Without trust in God, what are you worth? What are you worth? What is all the wealth worth? What's all the success worth? What's it all worth if you don't have tranquility of the soul? And tranquility comes from one place and one place only, and that is trusting the one above. So welcome, everybody. We're going to jump right in. All right. So there's a few benefits to trusting in God. I want to give you one, and by the way, everything that I do, you should know, comes from a business perspective, comes from a making a living perspective, because that is my primary focus of most of my other content. So all of the classes that I'm going to be giving in this section, in this subject, are going to be focused on how to apply trusting in God in your business, in your career, and in your finances. Because at the end of the day, it says that a man eats from the sweat of his brow. He eats with the toil of his hands, and that can be taxing sometimes. So I want to go through and show you how you could apply trusting in God in your business, your life, your career, and your finances, whether you're a single mother at home with 4 children, or whether you're a big, businessman that owns 100 companies, whatever it is. Every person on their level needs trust in God. Welcome, Rabbi Raps. Welcome, Joel. Welcome, Hani. Instagram, I love you. Welcome, Niza. Thank you guys for being here. LinkedIn, you guys are awesome. Thank you for joining live. Let's keep on going. Okay. So one of the main benefits to trusting in God that people don't realize is in your physical life, meaning in your financial world. People usually equate God with spiritual things, with things that are not of this world, stuff in Shemaim, stuff in heaven. But no, trust in God has a real tangible effect in this world. And I'm going to show you guys how to get there. So the number one benefit that you get from trusting in God is a tranquility of your soul. When you rely on God, first and foremost, you remove such a stress. I've been in business for my whole life, and there's so many times where you try so hard, and you're trying to make money, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and sometimes you're scared. How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to get forward? How am I going to make sure that my family is taken care of, that my rent is paid, that my refrigerator is going to be full, that my insurance is going to be paid, that my children are going to be able to get to go to school, and I'm going to pay for their tuition? How could I be sure of these things? When a person trusts in God, you gain tranquility of the soul. So here's a problem. There's a lot of people, including myself, by the way. That's why I'm doing this class right now. There's a lot of people that instead of placing their trust in God, they place their trust in other things. And the problem with that is when God sees that you place your trust in something else besides Him, He says, fine, no problem. You want to trust in the economy, you want to trust in the stock market, you want to trust in real estate, you want to trust in the deal and your boss and whatever it is, no problem. I have no problem with it, says God. The only issue is, God says, I'm going to remove my personal providence from you, and I'm going to leave you to the whims of the markets. Let the markets take care of you. It's a big mistake that people make. God doesn't like that. He doesn't like when we rely on other things besides Him. So He'll remove His divine providence from us, God forbid, if we placed our trust in anything besides Him. And He doesn't do it to be mean, by the way. He does it to teach us a lesson. He's not doing it. He's not doing it because He wants to punish us. He's doing it because He's a loving Father, and He wants to show you, hey, I'm the one to trust. Don't trust in the other things. But sometimes, every good parent knows, sometimes you have to let your child fall in order to be able to let him get back up. So let's keep on going. So here's another mistake that a lot of people make, is they rely on their own wisdom. They rely on their own schemes. They rely on their own physical strength and their own efforts in order to move forward, in order to earn money, in order to make a living. They rely on their own intellect. A person, it's very easy to say, I'm going to make a living my whole life. I'm very, very smart. Well, in that case, you're relying on your own intellect. What happens if, God forbid, someone smacks you in the head and you lose your intelligence? Or a person might say, I'm so strong. I'm a construction worker. For the rest of my life, I have my arms, I have my shovel, I have my legs. What happens if, God forbid, you get into an accident and your legs get cut off? What are you going to do then? So when you rely on other things besides the one above, that's when the anxiety starts to set in. And that's when you remove his divine providence. Also, cleverness. People try to rely on their own cleverness. What happens when you try to rely on your own cleverness? There's always going to be people who are more clever than you. And the problem is that if you rely on your own cleverness, then you're going to be outsmarted. The thing is, you can't outsmart God. So the bottom line is, your wisdom and your ingenuity and your physical strength on its own are not enough to achieve your goals. All of those things are limited. You want to put your power in God's hands. Even, I remember one time I was working in my family business and I made this huge deal. Woof, it was a screamer. I made like $24,000 in a phone call. Sick. And I remember everybody was congratulating me and patting me on the back. And I said to them, yeah, thank God, I made a great deal. And they said, I don't understand. Why are you always thanking God? You did all the legwork. I said, yes, but he gave me the legs. In other words, even when you succeed, and even when it is because of your own ingenuity, and even when it is because of your own smarts and your own physical strength, you should know that God is the one that gave you the strength. Let's keep going. So after discussing how a person, if they rely on their own talents, they won't be successful, now we're going to turn to the person who actually has wealth, the person who actually has a lot of money, because there are people in this world that they rely on their money instead of relying on God. I remember I once asked the rabbi here in Panama. I looked around in the morning and he has this beautiful synagogue in Panama, and I said to him, I don't understand, Rabbi. Who pays for this thing? It was a $15 million synagogue. Who pays for the synagogue here? I don't understand. Where are all your rich people? And he said to me, he made a joke. This is like 10 years ago when I first started coming here. He said, Beryl, the rich people don't need God. They don't come to synagogue. In other words, a person could also, if they have money, they rely on the money. They say, I have money in the bank. Therefore, I don't need God. What do I need him for? It's also a mistake. Why? Because if a person does that, ultimately they won't even be able to enjoy their wealth. How many people do we know? How many stories have we seen in the news, in the media, of people that actually have money and they don't get to enjoy it? Look at what happened with Will Smith at the Grammys. The guy was on top of the world. The guy has all the money in the world. The guy has all the fame, all the fortune, everything. And when you put your reliance on that, you don't even get to enjoy the money that you have. He smacked Chris Rock. By the way, how cool is it in this Torah class? They were quoting Will Smith and Chris Rock. That's pretty cool. You got to admit that. I'm pretty fly for a rabbi. I'm just joking. I'm not a rabbi. I just play one on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So here's Will Smith, super rich guy. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have Bill Gates. Who just got divorced from Melinda. Bill Gates, Yerach Shemo. You have what's his name? You have the owner of Amazon. And by the way, people have to get divorced, and it doesn't mean anything on them. But it's just a perfect example. Their kids don't even talk to them. So the point is that when a person puts their trust in their money, and they take their trust away from God, they don't even have a chance to enjoy their money. Let's keep on going forward. Next, not only that, but if a person has money and they don't trust in God, the money becomes the thing that actually destroys them. The money destroys their relationships. It destroys their health. They could always worry. I know people, they're super rich and they're always worried about money. They're cheap. They go to a restaurant and they're so nervous about ordering an extra dish, that there might be an extra dish on the table or an extra drink or an extra whatever it is. They're so cheap because they don't trust in God. They trust in their wealth. They don't know if there's money still coming. They have their money in the bank and they're conserving it at all costs. They don't trust that tomorrow is going to be okay. Because without God, why should tomorrow be okay? Not only that, but the money might even come to destroy them. How many people's relationships, how many families were destroyed because of money? So if a person doesn't trust in money, a person doesn't trust in God, the money becomes something that actually will destroy them in the end. Let's keep on going. So now we're going to move into another area of trusting in God. And this was one thing that I struggled with for many, many years. I remember when I first got married, before you're married, you don't realize really how screwed up you are. You're alone. You don't have to answer to anybody. You could be alone with your thoughts. You could be alone with your emotions. If you're in a bad mood, you go into your room. You don't talk to anybody. And before I was married, I didn't really realize just how many issues I had. I remember my wife, Eliana, at one point, she said, I think that you should go to a therapist. I think it's time. There was only so much she was able to help me. And I'm a big advocate for therapy, by the way. I own an executive coaching firm. I love personal work. And I remember sitting in the therapist, and I remember I was so sensitive towards every little thing that somebody would say to me in my work, and I remember being so paranoid that I was always going to get fired, or I was always going to upset somebody, or I was always going to offend somebody. And he asked me, what would you like to get out of our sessions together? And I answered him what I'm about to read you. I was reading this same book. By the way, if anybody's interested, this book is called Shar Habitachon, The Gate of Trust. Brilliant book. It's part of a bigger series called Chavavos Levovos and Chavavot Levavot. And he said to me, and I said to him, this is what I would like to gain. I'm going to read it for you right here. This is a game changer. Focus. If you didn't listen to anything, this right here is a big game changer in learning to trust in God. Okay, you become powerful. Once you learn what I'm about to teach you, you become an absolute giant among men, a giant among women. Nobody can touch you. Nobody can look at you. Nobody can say boo, because your boss, the one above, is the most powerful thing in the world. Let's go. I get excited about this subject. This is my number one favorite subject in all of Judaism, is trusting in God. When a person trusts in God, you become unstoppable, so powerful. Nobody can move you. It could take an Uzi to move me. Let's go. So among the benefits of trusting in God is that you will not have to serve anybody else. No man, no woman, nobody of flesh and blood when you trust in the one above. You won't have to place your hope on any other man. And you won't have to take anything from anybody. And you won't need to bow down to other people in order to win their favor. And you won't feel like you need to flatter everybody. There's those people, I'm going to use a bad word, okay? Please forgive me. But I have my own style. I'm not a rabbi. Sue me, okay? You won't have to be a kiss ass, okay? How many people out there are kissing ass to people because they want to suck up to them? The problem is, what's up, not Jew boy, by the way? I love your stuff. You're the man. Thank you for joining. I love you, bro. Not Jew boy, you could actually join live if you want. I would love to have you in here. Where were we? Oh, once you trust in God, you won't have to kiss anybody's butt. It's over. You ever notice how those people that are always trying to flatter everybody else, when you trust in God, you won't have to flatter anybody. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't have to be nice. You could be a mensch. You could be a good person. You don't have to start insulting everybody. But to flatter everybody, you won't need to anymore. And you don't have to spend a long time with people that you don't want to spend time with. And you're also not going to be afraid of anybody. There's times where we feel, this happened to me many times in my business career, that I remember in one of the businesses that I was in the metal recycling business, my family business, I remember there was a person that worked at our family business, and her custom was to steal. In the metal business, it's very common. In the metal business, it's very common that people steal. Imagine you pick up a load of metal. It's 40,000 pounds, and somebody sells you a load of scrap metal. Nobody has a scale that could weigh 40,000 pounds, except for the metal recycling company. So let's say they send you a load of metal, and it's 40,000 pounds, and it's very common in that business that you only pay them for 35,000 pounds, or you only pay them for 30,000 pounds. And there was somebody in my office, and she was constantly stealing from the clients. And she was one of the most powerful people at the company. She was the vice president of the whole company. And I remember there were some deals that I wouldn't make so much money on. And she would tell me, "Steele, what are you doing? What's the matter with you? Like, you're only making a few $1,000. You can make $20,000. Just change the numbers around." And she would pressure me in order to bend. And I didn't want to upset her because she was the vice president of the company. And I remember that I would bend in order to make them happy. Sorry. Yeah, there were times that I would bend. And because I lacked in my trust in God, I would bend towards other people. When you trust in God, somebody tells you to do something you don't want to do, you tell them there's the door. You tell them I answer to a higher authority. Hebrew National, the hot dog company, I guess they changed it because it's not politically correct. But like 10 years ago, they used to have a saying at Hebrew National. It was, "We answer to a higher authority." It meant that the quality of their food was higher. So I was able to tell this person, hey, when you start trusting in God, you can tell people, I'm not bending my morals for you. I'm not bending them for anybody. If somebody told me to break Shabbos for $1 billion, I wouldn't do it. It's not worth it. I trust in no man. I trust in the one above. Imagine how powerful that makes you. You don't have to kiss anybody's butt anymore. It's cool. All right, let's keep on going. Thank you for being here, by the way. If you've made it this far in the class, I just want to thank you. You're a sweetheart. I love you. Thank you for being here with me. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with your boy, Big B. Thank you for that. Let's keep going. So again, when a person trusts in the one above, and you see somebody that's doing something wrong, or somebody's bothering you, somebody's being disrespectful towards you, you have no problem of telling them, hey, you're being disrespectful, back off. But if you don't trust in, the only reason why a person would have that fortitude to do that is because ultimately they trust in God. So they're not scared if that other person is going to get mad at them. They don't care if the person's going to get mad. They say, what do I care? You're flesh and blood. If I have to stand up for myself, I'm going to stand up for myself. And that's one of the biggest, you understand what's happening here, guys? What's happening is that normally we live within the world, right? We want to go according to the nature of the world. The nature of the world is, if you tell somebody off, even if you're just defending yourself, by the way, if you tell somebody off, you're going to lose favor in their eyes. But when you trust in God, what you're saying to the world is, I don't care what the rules of the world are. I am above the rules. I am above nature. I answer to a higher authority. And when a person does that in his business, in his life, in her career, you're able to move up so much quicker. And by the way, not only that, God rewards that behavior. God is testing us at every moment. Are you going to trust me, or are you going to trust everything else besides me? You want to trust everything else besides me? Go ahead. But if you trust in him and you show him that first and foremost, you look to him, he will flip the whole world for you, because he wants to show you that he exists. And he created the whole world for this on top of it. I'm going to stick with Instagram here. I'm going to start answering people's one-on-one questions. I'm going to end LinkedIn and YouTube for now. LinkedIn and YouTube, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are amazing. Instagram, stay with me. We're going to get a little bit more personal, and we're going to talk. I'm going to start answering questions here because I didn't have a chance this whole time to see anything in the comments. Hang on. Thank you again, Instagram and YouTube, for joining. You guys are awesome. I love you guys.